Tadekam smaramas bhajamaha Tadekam jagat sakshi rupam namamaha Sadekam nidhanam niralambamisham Bhavam bodhiputam Sharanyam vrajamaha. On that alone do we meditate. That alone do we worship. To that alone, the witness of the universe, do we bow. To that one who is our sole eternal support, the self-existent Lord, the raft to safety across the ocean of this world, do we come for refuge. Om, peace, peace, peace. So thanks to Bravajika Brahmapranaji, who's not here, for inviting me to join you. And our topic today, well, I'd like to start by requesting all of us present to just take a moment to collect ourselves and to touch the peace which lies deep within us. That place of peace, of infinite peace, which is our true nature. And let us hold this entire world, this entire earth, which is burning right now in so many different places with hatred, with violence, with wars, and let us feel that that peace which lies deep within us is being reflected in the hearts of those who don't feel peace. Let our peace help them to find peace. This is truly the way to peace, is to taste peace within ourselves first. And we see the tragedy of people of differing religions killing each other. And Sri Ramakrishna came to bring this message of that all religions are but different facets of that one eternal diamond of the infinite divine reality, that all the religious paths are just different paths leading to that same infinite ocean. But Sri Ramakrishna emphasizes we must see God. We must see, that's the purpose of life, is to see God, not that my religious doctrines and your religious doctrines and who are right. We must see the divine, experience the divine directly. And that, in a way, is also what this talk is about. Of course, in the context of God as mother. Here in Hollywood, we have a Kali Puja in an image. One of our devotees sculpts a beautiful image of Mother Kali every year, and we invoke the presence of the mother into that image. And then we feel that the mother is really with us. And at the end of the worship, we say, all right, mother, come back into our hearts. But still, the image of the mother stays until the following Saturday. The puja was on Sunday night, as it fell this year. And so for a whole week, we have this beautiful image of Divine Mother with flower garlands and offering us blessings and be fearless. And of course, also she has her sword and her severed head and her 3 piercing eyes. And so there was a tremendous joy meditating in the temple for the whole week, feeling like we're sitting at Mother's feet. Now, yesterday, as is our habit, practice, we brought the mother down to Newport Beach, which is a nearby beach to our Hollywood Center, and we hire a boat every year, and we took the mother's image out onto the ocean, and with lots of singing and fanfare, we brought mother to the edge of the boat, and into the ocean she went. And there's a kind of curious feeling after that. And those of you who have experienced the Durga Puja in India, and then at the end of Durga Puja, the mother's image is brought to the river and immersed. There's this curious feeling of emptiness, of mother's not here anymore. But of course she's still here. But still we feel this longing. And the idea is that mother who has taken form, again, she goes into the formless. You let her go back into the formless, and we immerse her, we bring her into our own hearts. So it's there that we have to find the mother, of course. So there's this tension in Vedanta between, on the one hand, forms of God and the formless reality. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say, for us beginners in religion, a form of God is very helpful. A form of Divine Mother is very helpful. And yet some people insist, no, God is formless. And Swami Vivekananda, he used to preach God as an infinite principle. Yet in his personal life, he worshipped Divine Mother Kali. It's an interesting conversation that he had with Sister Nivedita in 1890, probably 1899, in which he says, I believe in Brahman and in the gods, and not in nothing else. And he goes on to explain, you see, Margot, he used to call Sister Nivedita Margot, I cannot but believe that there is somewhere a great power that thinks of itself as feminine and called Kali and the mother. And I believe in Brahman too, that there is nothing but Brahman ever. But you see, it's always like that, he says. It's the multitude of cells in the body that make up the person, the many brain centers that produce the one consciousness. And Sister Nivedita offers, yes, always unity in complexity. Swamiji replies, just so. And why should it be different with Brahman? It is Brahman, it is the one, and yet it is the gods too. And so you see, I believe in Brahman and the gods, and not in nothing else. They were quoting from a poem, actually, by Charles Kingsley called The Water Babies. This kind of not in nothing else kind of slang. Sister Nivedita was extremely privileged to be a very intimate disciple of Swami Vivekananda. And she had his company either during or right after some of the most profound experiences Swamiji had, spiritual experiences and realizations, including the darshan he had of Lord Amarnath Shiva in Kashmir. And again, after his experience of Divine Mother at Kshir Bhavani in 1898, October of 1898. And after he came back from that experience, back to where the disciples were staying in the houseboat, he told them, these images of the gods are more than can be explained by solar myths and nature myths. They are visions seen by true bhakti. They are real. So Sister Nivedita, in his presence, she writes how Swamiji has been living alone and living like a child on the lap of the mother. It was his own expression, Swamiji's own words, living on the lap of the mother. One's very breath is hushed at the holiness of every moment. He left one filled with the presence of the mother. So Divine Mother was very real also to Sister Nivedita. And thanks to her close association with Swami Vivekananda, and interestingly, she writes, she went deep into what is Kali worship, who is Kali, and what is this Kali worship, what is Kali Puja. And she writes how she set herself to enter into it as one would set oneself to learn a new language. And reveals, she says, to this fact, I owe it that I was able to understand as much as I did of our master's life and thought. So she understood Swami Vivekananda in the light of Kali worship and Mother Kali. She spoke at the Kali temple in Calcutta, Kali Ghat, the famous, from which perhaps Calcutta gets its name. Kali Ghat, one of the Shakti Pithas, the 51 special temples of Divine Mother in India. And as a Westerner, she spoke in the temple about Kali and wrote a wonderful little book called Kali the Mother, which was published in 1900. Perhaps some of you have seen it. I think many people think, this looks like an interesting book, and they pick it up and they read the first few pages and they think, oh, this is impenetrable, and they close it and put it on their bookshelf. Or maybe they look at the picture and say, well, it has a nice picture of Mother Kali on the front. But actually, there are some real gems in this book. And if you have the book, I would encourage you, pick it up and have another look at it. And if the first chapter, that is the main chapter on Kali, is a little dense, there's some beautiful chapters later in the book. And one of those I want to take up today in our talk, to have a closer look at this text called The Story of Kali. Now, this is very simple English. Sister Nivedita wrote it in 1898 when she was I believe she was staying possibly still at the new Belur Mutt. Before the monks moved in, Swami Vivekananda's disciples were staying at Belur Mutt. So I think she wrote it there. And she wrote it for baby Leggett, the young daughter of Francis and Betty Leggett of Ridgely Manor fame. And they had a young daughter who was born in 1896, November 30, 1896. So the baby was 2 years old when she wrote this. Obviously, the child would have been too young to understand it at that time, but maybe within a couple of years. It's written for children, and yet, are we not all Divine Mother's children? It's very appealing, and I think you will enjoy it. I'm going to read the text and discuss it as we go along. So she starts like this: baby darling, what is the very first thing you remember? Is it not lying on mother's lap and looking into her eyes and laughing? Did you ever play hide and seek with mother? Mother's eyes shut, and baby was not. She opened them, and there was baby. Then baby's eyes shut, and where was mother? But they opened again, and oh, when mother's eyes were shut, where was she? There all the time? You could not see her eyes, yet she was there. Baby, some people think God is just like that. A great, great mother, so great that all this big world is her baby. God is playing with her world, and she shuts her eyes. Okay, I'll stop there for a moment. Probably anyone here who has children or who has had association with young babies knows that it's a universal phenomenon, this game of peekaboo, where you hide yourself from the baby and then you show yourself again, and the baby laughs uncontrollably. And apparently babies can be entertained by this game for hours, and generally around the period of 6 to 8 months. And what's happening is they're developing what's called object permanence. They're starting to realize that if they don't see something, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. At first, if they don't, out of sight, out of mind, and out of sight, out of existence. If we don't see it, it doesn't exist. And then they start to realize, oh, I don't see it, but then there's mom that disappears, and then mom appears again. So of course, parents also love playing this game with the kids, babies, because it's so joyful to see all this irrepressible laughter of a child. So this is the object permanence. Now, we could say that we have a similar problem with God. We don't see God, so God doesn't exist. And then we get some inspiration, some feeling, some feeling of the presence of the divine, and we start to think, yes, after God does exist. And then that subsides, and then again, does God exist? So here she's giving this beautiful example that actually our Divine Mother is just like that. She's a great, great mother, so great that all this big world is her baby. And God is playing with her world, and she shuts her eyes. And what happens when she shuts her eyes? We don't see her. And then, so then she continues. Then all our lives long, baby darling, we try to catch the great mother peeping. And if any of us can do that, if any of us can look into the eyes of God just once, just for a minute, do you know what happens? That person at once knows all secrets and becomes strong and wise and loving and never, never forgets that moment. Okay, here she's introducing to this young child and to us, of course, this idea of spiritual realization, of the direct experience of God. And what happens when we attain the direct experience of the divine? First of all, we know all secrets, as it were. We know the one secret that is to be known, which is that at the very heart of reality, at the very heart of our being, lies infinite consciousness, infinite bliss. And one glance of that, and we become tremendously strong. We are tapped into the very source of strength, and we attain tremendous wisdom because we are tapped into the source of wisdom itself. And we become loving. We are able to love all because we have touched that, we have experienced that which is love itself. The very basis of our being, the divine, is love itself. And we never, never forget that moment. These are some of the hallmarks of genuine spiritual experience. If we ask, well, how do we know if a spiritual experience is genuine? One of them is that we attain this joy, unshakable faith, and it transforms our lives, and it's unforgettable. An experience of realization, an experience, any spiritual experience, if it's genuine, it will be unforgettable, and it changes our lives, and it brings tremendous joy. So this is what she's hinting at here, and teaching it in such an attractive way for a child. And then she goes on. And when you win like that, when you catch the mother looking, something else happens. Something lovely. All her other children come and play with you. The little birds come, and the wee lambs love you, and wild rabbits touch your feet. And the poor children in the streets, who are cold and hungry perhaps, poor children that the great mother loves most of all, because they seem to have no father or mother, and perhaps no home. Poor children trust you and make a place for you with them. We are all sitting on the mother's lap, but these sit closest of all to her breast. And what do we call the mother with her eyes shut? We call her Kali. So this is the first part of her story of Kali for baby Leggett. This wonderful idea that as we become established in divine consciousness, other beings, human beings, animals, feel no fear from us. They feel drawn to us. They feel drawn not to us personally. They feel drawn to that which is manifesting through us. The more we are able to reflect the love of the divine, the joy of the divine, the peace of the divine, the more other people and other beings even, they feel that in our presence. Why are we drawn to certain holy people? I think all of us have met certain great spiritual teachers in whose presence we feel something. We feel a peace, a joy. We can't put our fingers on it. This is what happens when we know the divine. When we see when we catch the mother peeping at us and we look into her eyes, this is what happens. The Yoga Sutra, there's a interesting sutra that when we become established in ahimsa pratishtayam, tat sannidho vairatyaga. So in the presence of someone who is fully established in ahimsa, which comes when we have looked into mother's eyes, then in the presence of such a being, other beings give up all violence, all tendency to give any harm. So therefore, such a being can be in the presence of a wicked person. The wicked person won't harm them. Reminds me of an incident when two of Swami Brahmananda's disciples were walking with him, and suddenly they were faced with an angry bull who looked as if he was going to charge. And the disciples tried to step in front of Maharaj because they wanted to protect him. But he pushed them back with his arms, and he stood and he looked at the bull. And after a few moments, it shook his head several times and then retreated. So that's what is being indicated here, that what we have in our hearts is also reflected in other hearts. It's a great lesson for spiritual life, and even in general psychological life. The more we can hold peace in our hearts, the more that peace will be reflected in the people that we meet. If we meet someone and inside we really dislike them, they'll feel that. Maybe not consciously, but subconsciously they will feel it, because on a very deep level, we are all connected. So if, on the other hand, if deep in our hearts we hold love and we meet someone, maybe they're feeling a little bit and again dislike towards us or something, still they will feel that in our hearts there is that love. It's a tremendous lesson to learn that what we have inside is reflected in other hearts as well. So when we touch that ground of our being and know that that is our true nature, then because that ground is behind everything and everyone, so it's natural that beings respond accordingly. And this very touching line that the poor children in the streets, perhaps cold and hungry, that the Divine Mother loves them most of all. And they sit closest of all to her breast. That the Divine Mother comes closest to her children who are suffering the most, though oftentimes it doesn't feel like it when we're suffering. All right, let's go on to the second section of Sister Nivedita's story of the story of Kali. Were you ever, for a very few minutes, unhappy? She's asking baby Leggett, of course. We've all been unhappy many times. And did mother or nurse or auntie or someone else come and pick you up and love you and kiss you till you were not unhappy anymore? Sometimes God is like that too. We get so frightened because those eyes will not open. We want to stop the game. We don't like it. We feel alone and far away and lost. Then we cry out. It has grown quite dark, and still the mother's eyes are shut. Let us play no longer. So we feel sometimes. But the eyes are not shut really. We think so because it is dark all around. Just at that moment, when you cried out, the beautiful eyes of the mother opened and looked at her child like two deep wells of love. And you, if you had seen, would have stopped playing all at once and saying, Kali, Kali. You would have hidden your little face on the mother's shoulder and listened to the beating of her heart instead. this idea that God is playing with the world, that this world is mother's play. Sri Ramakrishna used to like this attitude very much. And how do we look on this world? That's a question. How do we find our place in it? And there are various conceptions, various ways we can think of what is this life? Sometimes it seems like a terrible struggle. Sometimes we might take the attitude that, well, it's just samsara, it's the wheel of life and death, and we're dragged through it by our karma. But it's not a very satisfying conception. It's very difficult to find meaning in it. Well, one of the ways that the great saints find meaning in it is to see that it's actually a play of the divine, a play of the Divine Mother. There's an interesting a conversation that Swamiji had with some of his students in Northern California when they were staying at Camp Taylor. And one day after the morning meditation in Miss Bell's tent, Miss Bell remarked, "This world is an old schoolhouse where we come to learn our lessons." That's another attitude that we see sometimes. And there may be some truth to it, but Swamiji immediately retorted, "Who told you that?" Evidently, he wasn't too much favoring this interpretation. And Miss Bell couldn't remember who had said it. I think it's still pretty common in the New Age circles. It's a schoolhouse. We come here to learn our lessons, and we'll have to keep coming until we learn them. Swamiji said, "Well, I don't think so. I think this world is a circus ring in which we are the clowns tumbling." And Miss Bell asked, "Why do we tumble, Swami?" Swamiji replied, "Because we like to tumble. When we get tired, we will quit." So this was, and there are places where Swamiji says this world is like a gymnasium where we come to strengthen our moral muscle. But in this mood in Northern California, this approach appealed to him most, this idea that it's a play, it's mother's play. And Sri Ramakrishna liked this play between, he would call it the Nitya and the Leela, the eternal and the play. Oftentimes, Nitya is juxtaposed with Anitya, the eternal and the ephemeral, the lasting and the temporary. This world is temporary, it has a beginning and it had an end, and only that eternal reality is true. But he didn't favor that dichotomy. He preferred to look on this world of change not as something ephemeral, not as unreal, not as a dream, but as a manifestation of the Divine Mother, as her play, her Leela. So on the one hand, true, it doesn't last long, it is ephemeral, but it is Mother's play. And if we know it and we can play the play, then we also can enjoy the fun. Of course, his conception of the divine is also that as truly infinite, beyond all our limited conceptions we might have of the Mother, of the divine. So he says, rather than this Nitya Anitya pairing, this Nitya Leela, there is another view according to which God has become all that you see, he says. It is like a bell fruit, which consists of 3 parts: the seeds, the shell, and the flesh. The Nitya, that eternal, belongs to the same being to whom belongs the Leela. So that infinite divine beyond all conceptions, yes, what we call the eternal also belongs to that reality. And what we call the Leela also belongs to that reality. And he says, you cannot set aside the Nitya and understand just the Leela. And it is only because there is the Leela that you can transcend it step by step and reach the Nitya. So this Nitya Leela, this play of the Nitya and the Leela. And now, we generally need to address at some point this question of suffering. And twice in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find people objecting to Sri Ramakrishna. Hey, it may be play from God, maybe play for Divine Mother, but it's death to us. This play is our death, said the young Swami Turiyananda when he was still Hari. And Sri Ramakrishna asked him, yes, but tell me, who are you? The divine has become all this. So even the one who is suffering in this play, seemingly suffering, is also none other than the divine. In a tremendous letter written by Swami Vivekananda to Francis Leggett, whom he called Frankincense in 1896, he describes, towards the end of the letter, he says, he, the playful one, is playing these tears and laughters over all parts of the play. It is a funny world, and the funniest chap you ever saw is he, the beloved infinite. Fun, is it not? Brotherhood or playmatehood, a school of romping children let out to play in this playground of the world. Isn't it? Whom to praise, whom to blame, it is all play. So this brings a tremendous lightness, a tremendous spontaneity to life, if we can look at it as a play. And it's a delicate issue because I don't want to minimize the suffering that we have in the world. There is so much suffering. And the great ones like Sri Ramakrishna, like Swami Vivekananda, they come to this world precisely to show us the way out of suffering. They come precisely to alleviate the suffering of the world. And they weep tears of blood, as it were, seeing the suffering of others. Swami Vivekananda, how much he felt for the suffering of humanity, for all suffering he found everywhere, and he strove heart and soul to alleviate it. In India, starting the Ramakrishna mission, finding so much scarcity of food even. Well, we have to feed the people, they're hungry. This is God suffering in these people. We have to feed them. So on the one hand, there's that side. Who knows? And the mother is peeping at all her children. And perhaps when she sees us suffering like that, perhaps she also weeps. Who can say? When the play gets very rough, mother also weeps. Swamiji brings it back to the Vedantic idea. Life is but a playground, however gross the play may be. However we may receive blows and however knocked about we may be, the soul is there and is never injured. We are that infinite. So it seems like Nivedita is emphasizing, or adding to this almost, that actually it's we who are playing with the mother. It's not that we are part of mother's play. We are the playmates. The mother is our playmate. We are playing with her. It's to me, a delightful deepening of this conception of Leela, that we are playing with mother. So we become frightened, she says, and we want to stop the game. I don't want to play anymore, mother. I don't want to play anymore. But how poetically she puts it, that just when we cry out, the beautiful eyes of the mother opened and looked at her child like two deep wells of love. And if you had seen, would have stopped playing all at once and saying, Kali, Kali, you would have hidden your little face on the mother's shoulder and listened to the beating of her heart instead. So she continues here. And so, wee one, will you remember that the great Mother Kali is everywhere? Even when she seems to be far away, it is only that you cannot see her eyes. This mother goes away, and you cannot see her, meaning the earthly mother. But Kali is always there, always loving, and always ready to play with her child. And will you sometimes remember to stop playing, just for a minute, and to fold your little hands and say, dear Mother Kali, let me see your eyes. She gives a beautiful a prayer for us. This, on the one hand, this tremendous reminder that Mother is always everywhere, and she hears our prayers, and she looks at us when we pray. And reminding a young child, reminding all of us, let us not forget sometimes to stop playing and to fold our hands and to ask Mother, dear Mother, let us see your eyes. So let us call on her. Now this third section, there are 4 sections of this text. The third section is wonderful. She says, there is another game of hide and seek that the great Mother plays. This is more like a fairy story. She hides sometimes in other people. She hides in anything. Any day you might see her eyes, just looking into Mother's, or playing with a kitten, or picking up a bird that had fallen from its nest. Under all these forms, you may find God playing at hide and seek. This is wonderful. I love this, because this is our Vedanta teaching. The divine is within all beings. This we just chanted the 15th chapter of the Gita this morning. We do every Sunday. And Sarvasya Chaham Hriti Samnivishto. I am seated in the hearts of all beings. So can we see the Divine Mother who is seated in the hearts of all beings? Can we see her? Can we see her eyes in the eyes of a stranger? Can we see her eyes in the eyes of our close, near and dear ones? Can we see her eyes even in the eyes of someone who perhaps is still in deep delusion? She also suggests in the beauty of nature, no? Picking up a bird that had fallen from its nest, or looking into Mother's eyes, or playing with a kitten. This is I actually tried to start a hashtag. How many of you, the younger people, know what a hashtag is? On Instagram, back when Instagram, I started an Instagram account when it was just to share photographs, and now it's become like a big social media, so I've ignored it. But I started a hashtag called Mother Peeping. The idea was that a beautiful photograph that seems to reflect the tremendous beauty of the divine, we call that Mother Peeping. When we see something beautiful, that's the Mother peeping at us. That's Mother looking at us. Can we see that? So if you're on Instagram, you can post some beautiful photographs, or a photograph of something that you feel you can see Mother peeping. You can add that hashtag. We could make it a thing of Mother peeping. So I'll read the next part of this third section. When there is something to do for someone, Kali is calling us to play. We love that play. She herself said once she was hiding in someone, and he said it was her. Inasmuch as ye did it unto one of the least of these, my little ones, ye did it unto me. Here she's bringing in the teachings of Jesus from the Bible. This is fascinating, saying that she was hiding in someone. She's hiding in Jesus, and he said it was her. My Father in heaven, my Mother in heaven, either way. Inasmuch as ye did it unto one of the least of these, my little ones, ye did it unto me. Yes, the divine is in all hearts. And if we are called to do something for someone, she's suggesting it's the Divine Mother calling us to play. We're actually playing with Mother. If we're helping someone, maybe we're giving some food to a hungry person, or we're helping someone get up who fell, or trying to help someone get a job, or to heal from some trauma, or whatever it may be. It's Mother asking us to play with her. If we can take life in that spirit, life becomes very joyous. If it's always if we're playing with Mother all the time. Is not that like a fairy story, she says. And what funny places she, the great Mother, can hide in. Another time she said, lift the stone and thou shalt find me. Cleave the wood and there am I. Again, quoting from Jesus. This quote, actually, I thought it was Gospel of Thomas is where it is found now. but Gospel of Thomas was only found in 1945. So obviously these quotes were there, and it turns out, let's see if I can find that reference. It's something called the Agrapha, which are the sayings of Jesus, which are found in the Gospels and other notes, apocryphal notes and things. There's a long word that I don't think I can pronounce. Oxyrinchus logia. This particular teaching is found. If a Bible scholar among us here could fill us in on the details of that. You're looking, one of you is looking knowingly. No. So this was already, these teachings were already known in 1899. That Jesus is said to have said, "Lift the stone and thou shalt find me. Cleave the wood and there am I." Then she asks baby Leggett, "Did you ever lift a stone or break a piece of wood to see what was inside? Did you ever think that was God at the heart of things? How beautifully Kali plays. You might find her anywhere." So this is right in line with our Vedantic idea that everywhere, the whole world is simply the manifestation of the divine. And Swami Vivekananda also places this before us as a spiritual practice. Here, Sister Nivedita is putting it in the devotional approach of looking on everything is filled with the Divine Mother, that we may see Divine Mother Kali anywhere, even under a stone or in a wood, in the playing with a kitten, helping someone. Swami Vivekananda puts it when he's teaching from the Isha Upanishad, that first beautiful line of the Isha Upanishad, Isha vasamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. This entire world is to be covered with the Lord, he says, is the translation. And he explains it this way, because the Vedanta also emphasizes this ideal of renunciation, but it's not what we think. The ideal of renunciation nowhere attains such a height as in the teachings of the Vedanta, he says. But at the same time, dry, suicidal advice is not intended. It really means deification of the world, giving up the world as we think of it, as we know it, as it appears to us, and to know what it really is. And what is it really? Deify it. It is God alone. So this is the renunciation that Swamiji says we actually are called to practice. Give up our limited ideas of what this world is. Give up our limited ideas that this world is a place of pain and suffering and difficulties and competition and all of that, and see it for what it really is, nothing other than God, nothing other than the divine. Whatever exists in this universe is to be covered with the Lord. That is the Isha Upanishad's teaching. Not, he says, not by false sort of optimism, not by blinding our eyes to the evil, but by really seeing God in everything. It's a tremendous challenge. It's easy to see God in the kitten. It's much more difficult to see God in the, well, like a fat pig or something. In life and in death, in happiness and in misery, the Lord is equally present. The whole world is full of the Lord. Open your eyes and see him. This is what Vedanta teaches. So let us open our eyes and see that the mother is also peeping at us through everything and through everyone. So this very appealing to me is such an appealing approach to spiritual life. All right, we'll just take the fourth section of this fascinating text, which I hope is appealing to you also. Does mother love baby when she is hiding from her? Why, of course. Else why should she hide? Even when her eyes are shut, is mother loving baby? Why, yes. See how she is laughing all the time. And so with Kali. There's a song, a Bengali song, which is the first line of which is one we should no one anymore need have any anxiety to see the mother. Is she just your mother and my mother? She's the mother of all beings. And this idea that the mother loves to hear her children call Ma, Ma. If she should show herself to us all, we'd stop calling and she would no longer hear that call. She loves to hear that call of Ma, Ma, so she hides herself. So that song is Ma ke dekhbo bole bhavo na keu karuna yar. Anyone familiar with that song? No, anyhow. Okay. So she goes on. And so with Kali, we need never be frightened. Though her eyes are long shut, she is laughing all the time. In her own good time, God will stop playing, and she shall look into her eyes and get away and away behind the world, straight to the other end of nowhere all at once. So let us run. Let us always run to play when we are called. Remember, little one, if any need anything, you can give. Your mother is calling you to find her. If anyone asks for something you can do, it is really mother saying, peep, childie. Or when a new person comes for you to love, Kali is saying, here am I. Sorry, that's the fourth section. There are 5 sections. That's the end of this fourth section. This idea that that when someone is asking something of us, perhaps the mother is asking us to play with her. Doesn't mean we have to drop all our boundaries and forget how to say no. There's also a place for that. But let us always run to play when we are called. If we feel that we are playing with mother, when we are called to play with mother, let us play. All right, the last section now, 5th section. There's something else. You love mother and father and auntie and nurse and of course you do. Besides, they love you and they are all so good and kind. But far, far away, mother has a brother, a big brother like Hollister. That means baby Francis' older brother. Do you love him too? Why? You never saw him. He never played with you. No, but mother loves him. And you love all the people mother loves, don't you, dearie? So we love all the people Kali loves, all the children she plays with, and the lambs and the flowers and the great trees and the little fishes. She loves all these. And she loves too the stars in the sky. And so do we, for we are her children, and everything that she loves, we love too, because she is the mother and we cannot help it. That's the end of the text that closes with this call to universal love, which is perhaps one of the most challenging practices, to love all beings. It's very easy to love some people and very difficult to love others, and we know this. And yet, as Vedantists, we are called to manifest that universal love, which loves all beings. How do we do it? It's so touching, no? She gives this suggestion to the young baby that, well, you love the people who love you, whom you know, but mother has a brother whom you don't know, but she loves him, and don't you also love him? And I think at least the young children, we could say, yes, we love our uncles and our aunts, even those that we don't know well, because they're family, and we recognize they're part of the family, and we love them. So here she just expands the idea of family. It comes right in line with Holy Mother's teaching, no one is a stranger. Why is no one a stranger? We are all children of the same mother. We have all the same mother. They have that saying, brother from another mother or something, sister from another mother. Actually, there's no other mother. There's only one mother. We're all brothers and sisters of the one mother. So this is this to attain to this, we really it's a practice of stretching our own heart, of expanding our own heart. And that's why the path of devotion has this tremendous sweetness, because as we begin to love Divine Mother more, or our chosen ideal, whichever aspect of divine we choose to focus on, our hearts grow, and we begin to taste a little bit of that higher love, which overlooks all the faults and all the difficulties. And we begin to taste that kind of high, the closer we come to Mother, the more we can taste that love which knows no distinction, which can love everybody. So it requires that intense devotion, and at the same time also compassion, tremendous compassion for those who seem to be causing so much suffering, those evildoers, we like to say, recognizing that they are bringing tremendous suffering upon themselves and expanding our hearts. Swami Vivekananda, in a very touching conversation with Surendranath Das Gupta, at the very end of that conversation, he closes it with this heartfelt call. He says, "Alas, what folly for human beings in this world to spend their days fighting and quarreling with one another as they do. But how long can they go on in that way? In the evening of life, they must all come home to the arms of the mother." Shandhai Mayer Koli Astei Hobe. They must all come to the arms of the mother in the evening. As the curtain falls on life, where will we go? When the sun sets, we go back to the arms of the mother, and Mother Kali opens her eyes and welcomes us back with all her love. I think this is pretty much what I wanted to share with you today, sharing this beautiful text. You can find it in the book Kali the Mother, as well as the complete works of Sister Nivedita, and most likely you can find it online. If you're a little bit savvy searching, you could find it online. It's worth reading through. I tell you what, I think I have a PDF of it. Can I share an attachment in the chat? Can I do that? I think I can. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't know. It's not allowing me to just drag and drop it.
Yes, Maharaj, you can add it to the chat box.
Really? It looks like I have to click something to catch a file, and then well, I'll have to email it. And who can I email it to?
Maharaj, you can email it to Brahma Pranaji, and then you can share it with us.
Send it to it. Okay, we'll do that. That makes it easy. Typically, do you take a few minutes? If anyone has a comment or question, we can take a few minutes.
Yes, definitely. A beautiful talk, Maharaji. Very nice idea of mother peeping.
Swamiji, this is Jessica Schiefer. Hello, thank you for your talk. I have just a question about, when you talk about devotion to the Divine Mother, some people like myself, maybe we have this tendency to have more devotion towards God as Father, the male side of that. And so is it important that we try to cultivate this sense of bhakti for the Divine Mother? And if so, what are some ways we can do that if it doesn't come naturally?
Well, that's a good question. And I think it really depends on the individual, whether that's the path for you. Everything I have said today you can substitute the word father for mother. Some people feel like father, they're drawn to father, and they feel so close to father, and father's eyes are also looking at us, because mother and father, and the divine is infinite and encompasses the male and female principles both. And for some of us, we like to approach the divine through the male principle, and for some through the female principle, and for some both. That's the beautiful thing about Sri Ramakrishna, that he has come with Holy Mother. So you have these, both of them, and they complement each other, as it were. And yet Holy Mother used to say, don't look at me as different from Sri Ramakrishna. So we have that, on the one hand, the Holy Mother is so extremely approachable, maybe much more approachable than Mother Kali with her sword and severed heads and all of that. So there's that side that we find Holy Mother's teachings are so simple. She's so approachable. So if you're interested in developing that side, I would say then go to Holy Mother. Maybe read a biography of her life. There you'll get a glimpse of who Mother is and that kind of thing. So I would suggest that.
Thank you.
Swami, this is David. I had a question. On the surface, is there a bit of a contradiction when you think about universal love and attachment? Because, when you start to become attached, and the mind takes hold of it, and the ego and all that, and then the expectations come and all that. So sometimes can there become a bit of a contradiction between universal love, as that attachment can kind of seep in there?
Well, that's a great question. Swami Vivekananda, he delineates a triangle of love. And do anyone remember from the teachings? It should be in Bhakti Yoga. There's three for love to be considered as true love. You look for these three signifiers that of true love, and one is no shopkeeping, right? It's not I give you this, I give you love, and you should give me something else. Like so much of the time we say we love someone, but we also have expectations. At the very least, we expect that you should also love me. Or, I love you, honey, but take out the trash. We have expectations behind our love. So Swami Vivekananda would say, and it may seem harsh, or it may seem like a very difficult command to go beyond that, but he says true love seeks no reward, that actually love is its own reward. So there's no shopkeeping. If you're expecting something in return, it's just shopkeeping. I'm giving you love and you're giving me that. I'm giving God love and God should give me good health and lots of money. Well, then it's not devotion. Then it's not the highest love. It's not bad. And Swami Vivekananda also says many times, we go not from error to truth, but from lower truth to higher truth. So let's always remember that. Not that if we have some attachment mixed in with our love, if we have some expectations, all right, doesn't mean we're terrible or that we're wrong, but we recognize that, yes, let me go forward. Let me start to relinquish those expectations. And that doesn't mean I'm not giving marital advice here, because I don't have experience in that department. And naturally in a marriage, one has to negotiate duties and things like that. And it's a shared project, which is a tremendous help in spiritual life, because it keeps us humble. It's like in a monastery, we have the monks to rub each other the wrong way. In a marriage, you have your spouse to rub you the wrong way and keep you a little bit humble and growing constantly. So the second is that love knows no fear. That's right in line with teachings of Jesus also, or the Bible. that love casts away all fear. And oftentimes our love, at least in the human realm, if it may be tinged with, I love you, but I'm afraid lest you don't love me, or I'm afraid lest my beloved might die. And so there's that also is not yet reached that highest pinnacle of love. And the third one is that love knows no rival, that there's actually our object of love is there's no two things which divide our love, as it were, that I love you, but I also love you. So then he's suggesting that actually the true love is love for God, and that it all love. So even in our human life, also that love that we have for others, when we can raise it and spiritualize it, and it becomes love for God, then I can love you, and I'm also loving God. And the Upanishads say that the husband is loved not for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the self, for the sake of the divine essence of that person. And the wife is loved, so the spouse is loved for the sake of, not of the individual spouse, but for the sake of the divine, sake of the self, capital S. And so we find the more that we can love every being equally, the more we're loving God, and vice versa. The more we can love God, the more we can love the divine. The more we find the divine shining in all hearts, the more we can actually love. And it's a process of continual unfoldment and evolution from lower to higher, from on to greater and greater love. So.
Pranam Maharaj, this is Indranil. I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the beautiful talk and melodious singing. So when you mentioned Leela, it seemed like Maya to me. Is there any difference between Leela and Maya?
Well, it's the attitude. No, Maya is generally considered something negative, that it's something unreal and something to be transcended and given up and rejected and recognized for what it is, in the common parlance. Though Swami Vivekananda would say that Maya is simply a statement of facts, of the tremendous contradiction that we see in life. But Leela sweetens everything. And Sri Ramakrishna did not support the idea that this world is a mere dream, or is a mere something to be rejected and transcended. He said, no, it is the manifestation of the Divine Mother, or it is the play of God. He would say, I see all of you sitting here, but I see only God, and taking different shapes. So if for the tremendous vision of a mystic like Ramakrishna, we get these kinds of statements. I love that experience he had in the Kali temple, when he said, suddenly the mother revealed herself to me as in everything. And the image was consciousness, but the door sill was also consciousness, and the worship utensils were also consciousness. And the dog outside the door was also conscious. Everything was divine consciousness. And then he says, I started scattering flowers around like a madman on everything. So ordinarily we lay flowers at the feet of the image of the divine mother or whatever in the shrine. He was throwing flowers everywhere because he saw everything. So that was the end of his formal worship, when it culminated in this vision of God in everything. So it's a tremendous inspiration for us to learn of those experiences, and to strive to taste them a little at least.